Even the
open.
savior of Meridian needs a challenge. Aloy, please, have a seat. Ah, I knew I'd make a strike player out of you yet. How about this time I tell you how to use a board's terrain to your advantage? This one's got all the different terrains you can encounter in a game of Strike. Knowing when and how to use them can mean the difference between victory and defeat. Terrain mainly affects your machine's combat power. As you know, when fighting an opponent's machine, you compare its combat power to yours. The higher your machine's combat power, the more damage you can do. So finding the right terrain is an essential strategy for overpowering your opponent. Here, I'll show you. Grab that piece to your left and move to attack my machines. Now let's take a look at your machine. Combat power is the sum of a machine's attack power and the value of the terrain it's standing on. Since your machine is attacking, it's using its 2 points of attack power. It's also standing on forest terrain with a value of 1 point. Add those together and your machine has 3 points of combat power. My machine is standing on grassland terrain with a value of 0 points. It's also not attacking, which means their attack points aren't in play. So my combat power is 0. This means your machine can do 3 points of damage. Go ahead and test it out. There you go. Now, choosing the right terrain doesn't just improve your offense. It can also help defend your machines from attack. Grab your other piece and place it in front of my second machine. Since it's standing on grassland terrain, this terrain has a value of 0. This means your machine's combat power adds up to 2 points. My machine can't use their attack powers since they're defending their position. But they have the higher ground. They're standing on forest terrain, which is worth 1 point. This means my combat power adds up to 1 point. Now, the front of my machine is colored blue. This means that the spot you're about to attack has armor protecting it, which means my machine gets an extra point, giving it a total of 2 combat power points. If we compare the combat power of both machines, you'll see that you won't be able to do any damage. Whenever you're unable to top an opponent's combat power, you can still choose to attack and break their machine's defenses instead. Go ahead, try it out and see what happens. Ha, see? When you break a machine's defenses, you can knock it backwards. Sure, both our machines will receive 1 point of damage, but knocking my machine off that terrain makes it more vulnerable to attacks. Not only that, if my machine had been blocked from moving backwards, it would have received an extra point of damage. And if my machine had been blocked by another one of my pieces, that machine would have received damage as well. That's why breaking a machine's defenses is a great way to deal damage to several pieces at once. Useful, right? Okay, now go ahead and end your turn. There's still one more thing I want to show you. All right, as we've seen, the higher the terrain, the more it'll add to your machine's combat power. However, there are 2 other terrains that work a little differently. This is what we call a chasm. Only flying machines can be placed on those. But it'll take away 2 combat points if you do, so be wary. This is marsh terrain. Landing on it will take away 1 combat power point from most machines. It'll also keep your machine from moving for the rest of the turn. Here, let me show you. Grab that machine on your left. See? All you can do now is wait for your next turn to move again, or you can overcharge your machine to get out of there. You can still attack any nearby enemies so you're not completely helpless. Well, I think that's enough yammering from me for now. promise it'll all come in handy next time you play. Here for more tips? Why don't I tell you a bit more about the pieces we used to play? In a normal game, you get to choose which machines you place on the board. Each one is worth a certain number of setup points, and you can spend up to 10 assembling your army. Knowing what each machine brings to the game and building an army that matches your strategy is the key to becoming a machine strike master. When assembling your army, there are a few things to keep in mind. First and foremost, you can never have more than 4 of the same machine on the board at the same time. With that in mind, most players would choose machines based on how far they can move or how much attack power they have. But a real strike player will be looking at a machine's type and skills. Let's take a quick look, shall we? Pick up that machine on your left. All right, let's talk about the different ways in which a machine attacks its opponents. In other words, its machine type. If you look at your notes, you'll see this machine here is a melee type. You can also tell by the shape of the base the piece stands on. A melee type machine attacks the first enemy within range, and no one else. We've seen this plenty of times, so just move that piece forward so I can show you some more stuff. Great, now grab your other machine. Looks like we've got ourselves a gunner type machine here. This means they'll only hit the farthest enemy in their attack range. Let's move that machine forward and end your turn so we can take a look at the rest of the pieces. Let's go with this piece first. This is a ram type machine. Attack an enemy with it and it'll push the piece backwards, like this. See, now my machine has taken over your machine's spot on the board. This is a great way to take the advantage away from your opponent if they have the higher ground. Looks like we have one more piece to look at. Now this is a beauty of a piece, a dash type machine. When it attacks, it'll move to the end of its attack range and damage every machine in its path, including your own. So make sure you take a good look at the board before you send it off to the races. You should also make sure it's able to finish its attack on an empty spot. Otherwise, you won't be able to attack at all. Here, I'll show you. Look, it even rotated your piece. A nifty little piece you'll definitely want in your set. If you look at your notes, you'll notice this particular machine has one of the skills I mentioned before. There's quite a few of those, and we haven't even looked at all the machine types yet. But I'm pretty sure you've got more important things to do, so I made you a list. It's got all the tips and tricks we talked about, too. I think that about does it for now, so if you want to play a real game, just let me know. Let's do this! Your move, Red. Time to make my move. Board's all yours. Armor is your best friend in this game, I'm telling you. Your turn. I'm up. You're up, Red. That was brutal. Time to get serious. That's it for me. Ah, looks like I lost. This is gonna be fun. Okay, let's see. That's it for me. Time to get serious. Your turn. Knocked right off the board. Off the board it goes. Okay, let's see. You're up, Red. That was a surprise. I got a tough fight ahead of me. Time to make my move. A single machine left? That ain't good. What a hit! You got me, fair and square. Good luck. Your move, Red. My turn. Board's all yours. One less piece on the board. I'm up. Well, that's done now. Knocked right off the board. Oh, you hit that weak spot all right. I'm up. You're up, Red. Off the board it goes. Time to get serious. That was brutal. That's it for me. My turn. Well, that's done now. That's the game. You up for a rematch? Here we go. Okay, let's see. Board's all yours. One less piece on the board. Time to make my move. Your move, Red. Well, that's done now. My turn. One less piece on the board. Knocked right off the board. I'm up. Your turn. That one hurt. Ah, off the board it goes. Oh, seriously? Time to make my move. You got me down to one piece. I am impressed. Board's all yours. Oh, I thought I had that one.